aan Peter Hammill, zanger, songwriter, maar vooral poet. Misschien is Peter Hammill wel degene die de mooiste love songs ooit geschreven heeft. Hij heeft inmiddels meer dan 20 soloalbums uitgebracht, waarvan onlangs de laatste, getiteld Roaring Forties. Op 1 november jongstleden gaf hij een exclusief concert voor de VPRO in de studio van Paul Wijenberg in Amsterdam, waarbij een select publiek aanwezig was van grotendeels Hammill-bewonderaars. Eind 60er jaren al kreeg Peter Hammill bekendheid toen hij de cultband van de Gaaf Generator oprichtte. Een groep die de geschiedenis inging als experimenteel, progressief en avant-gardistisch, maar vooral zeer eigenzinnig. Nooit heeft hij muzikale concessies willen doen of trends willen volgen. Waar het hem om te doen was, zoals hij zelf zegt, is to make some kind of real music. Hij was altijd een man die extreme aantrok. Of mensen waren idolaat van zijn muziek, of verwierpen het keihard. Een angstvallige gelijkenis met deze kenmerken vertoont zanger-songwriter Edward Ka-spel, oprichter van de legendary Pink Dots. Hij volgt Hammill al sinds de jaren 70 met grote belangstelling. Hij beschouwt hem als een belangrijk inspirator. Het leek ons een aardig idee om deze twee gelijkgezinde artiesten met elkaar van gedachten te laten wisselen. Dus voor u gaat luisteren naar een optreden van Peter Hammill, hoort u hem eerst in gesprek met Edward Ka-spel.
Hello, Peter.
Hi there.
Peter, I was saying earlier, I've been listening to you for many, many years, and what drew me to your music originally was just its individual nature. It related to nothing else around it. So I was quite shocked a year ago to have an invitation to contribute a track to a Peter Hammill tribute cassette. I must admit, I refused. I hate tribute cassettes. I hate tribute albums. But I was wondering how you felt about cover versions of such an individual kind of music.
I mean, actually, in principle, I don't mind them at all, because there are kind of the two parts of the process. There's the songwriting, which I know ends up being individual, but it makes sense to me. You know, I don't deliberately go out of my way to be left field or what have you. And then there's my performance in whatever form it comes out, be it solo or band or what have you. And I often think that there are loads of songs in the catalogue that I could see other people doing, in fact. But I think there is a difference between tribute versions and cover versions, because cover versions should really mess around with the song and come out with something completely different.
Have you heard any of the different versions?
I haven't heard this latest thing. The only cover versions I've heard were Mark Armand did two. He did Vision and Just Good Friends. Vision was much more successful because it was seriously warped around, whereas Just Good Friends was kind of followed the arrangement a bit too much. But yeah,
you know, the personal nature of your music. Has there ever been a time when you've listened back after some years to songs that you've made, which refer to people you know, and has it ever embarrassed you?
No, not really embarrassed. I mean, obviously, you know, one gets older and doesn't write about the same things. So there are things, you know, maybe that I wrote when I was 18 or 19 that aren't part of my psyche or my attitude now. But embarrassment, no, not really. Another part of the process, I think, is as time goes on, things become less autobiographical rather than more. You know, there's this, obviously it's the business of becoming a writer more. Everyone, when they starts, writes about their known universe, which fundamentally is themselves. You know, they are the most important thing on the planet, and di-da-di-da. Hopefully still sounding personal, you know. It's, to put a first-person singular in a song, it's got to be convincing, what have you, but it's not necessarily a direct part of the life by now.
Normally when I introduce people to your music,
they run screaming from the room.
Well, it's
one or the other.
I mean, especially as I usually introduce them with, I play them Gog Magog in camera. Actually, it's a 90%
failure rate. Yes.
No, success
rate. Oh, really?
Actually, you know, I admit people who sort of come into my musical room, they know that they're going to get a musical universe that they might find a little hard to deal with, but this is what I like to listen to, so either sit there or go. But I always wondered why you never continued that line of Magog.
The pure concrete stuff, yeah?
I thought it was amazing.
It's still kind of in the back of my mind at some time to do it. I do find it's actually harder to be as purely experimental as that these days. I mean, the other sort of experimental wing is all the stuff on the Future Now and PH7.
Yeah.
And it's because now, you know, there's the whole world of samplers and sequencers and so on, and, you know, you can get millions of sounds. I find it harder to be pure experimental, because all of that stuff, the Magog stuff, the Future Now, was all tape loops and so on, chopped up, very, very brutal, just using what kind of clay was to hand. Now, these days, you know, you get the complete set of building bricks, and it's quite hard to
But
do
it's
that.
still different. I mean, I find the samplers can never
They can't do that.
do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, I think that's one of the most successful pieces of experimental music I ever heard. And I've listened to a lot,
Yeah.
like Pierre Henry, you know, anything, every direction, but that still stands up, and it's so much, I think, out of its time. You know, there were things 10 years later which attempted that and did not get there.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Well, you wonder why I don't get on and do some more, eh? It is in the kind of the back of my mind at some time to do that, but I think it will take a sort of a backward step in terms of the use of technology. And in order to do it, what I might have to do is say I can only use these instruments. You know, I can only use this many tracks, this many instruments, and so on. When I discover I haven't got any songs or what have you, I might kind of dive towards that.
But do you have much contact with your audience, really?
You mean when I'm playing, or?
Not when you're playing. I mean, outside. I remember a song like "Energy Vampires." And
Well, that was a very specific song, you know, and a very specific type of, and not just about me either. There's I get a lot of letters, obviously, which I'm afraid to say I'm very, very bad at replying to, unless it's something
join the
very,
club.
very unique, because otherwise you can spend your whole life writing letters. So I get kind of feedback from that. Usually there are things that people hate as well as like. I think that's the interesting aspect of my audience, that if you take anybody, for some people, Gog and Magog is, you know, would be absolutely, that's the really horrible end.
Really?
Oh, yeah. If I'm doing something, it is because I want to do it, and it seems right to me at the time,
that's
even
really
if that's something that, at the moment, is not to their taste. And then the hope is that I'm not going to repeat myself or get stuck in any particular rut, and therefore that the next thing maybe will be more towards them.
I mean, that's one of the things I really appreciate too. Like just in the last two albums, I see an incredible difference between the last two albums.
Yep.
You know, The Noise for me was the most straight-ahead rock album you ever did.
Yeah.
It's not so much my kind of thing, but I can see why you wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But the Roaring Forties is like you're playing around with it again, very much.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
What do you find that people? I had the impression that The Noise was the record that people embraced. I may be wrong, and I don't know about the reaction to the Roaring Forties yet. But
I think, you know, there was a lot of divide among people about The Noise, also about Farships, particularly because both of these are, you know, they're respectively the Calm and Loud series, which incidentally is in theory a continuing series, but who knows, you know, there might be a series of one. I don't want to get trapped into saying, all right, it's an alternate year, so it's got to be a Quiet album. It was, people were quite polarised by the fact that fundamentally there was one mood on each of these discs. For a lot of people, The Noise was too straight ahead, too square, too buff-baff, too many guitars, and not enough slipperiness. But, as always, the Roaring Forties is only capable of existing because I did The Noise and because I did Farship.
okay, what did you used to listen to? Like before Aerosol Grey Machine,
Yeah.
right back to when you was a teenager?
First things were blues, rhythm and blues, British beat groups, kind of order of Who, Animals, Kinks, that, you know, brutal,
Yeah.
the brutal groups, and basically Chicago blues, Hendrix, and Arthur Brown was a big influence on the early band. But there was this basic liking of noisy 4/4. So that when we started up playing the funny time signatures and what have you, we also had we had the real wish to make a kind of 4/4 noise, even though it was complicated stuff.
Well, it was never awkward. It was never clever. In what I thought there were a lot of bands that, at that time, that they were trying to impress you with their technique, and it assumed a very pretentious nature. But Van der Graaf, no, because all the emotions were intact, and
it was noisy.
And it was noisy. Yeah, I like good noise. Thank you, Peter. Well, I wish you well with this.
Thanks very much.
Very small.
And I wish you well as well.
Well, I invite you to the piano.
To the piano now.
En uw speciale aandacht voor Peter Hammill.
You don't have to say a thing. The silence is sweet. We've been together today in a way we might never repeat. Oh, your head on the pillow, the distance in your eyes. Already you might be rehearsing the word goodbye, and I don't want to hear it. When the evening comes of this perfect day, when the shadows run, to lose you. When the evening comes of this perfect day, when the shadows run, will you slip away? Will you look away?
now the passion's done, and you're going home. Oh, when will you telephone? You don't tell me anything. No, you don't even tell me. The bell won't ring.
Thank you. This was Don't Tell Me. I'm basically playing, for the most part, songs that we're not doing in the band form at the moment, so I might be a little bit rusty in places. You'll have to forgive me. The next one is Just Good Friends.
Drawing back the curtains, sluggish city daylight in the afternoon. Here's that special silence just before you walk out of the hotel. Each time we're so close, I assume that we'll never be again. Oh, how long will we pretend? Casual affair is all that you can spare from your emotional change. A calendar of meetings, strangers on the street, the best we ever arranged. Well, now I just can't stand all the pain, all the constant make and mend. And how long must we pretend that we're just good friends? I gave you my devotion, hiding nothing up my sleeve. If I walk clean out of your life, would you even notice me leave? So much tangled up emotion. Should I stay or should I go? And if I walk clean out of your life, how long would it take you to know? Are we such good friends? You used to say I love you. You used to say you make me feel alive and young. But now we're just a habit, a flavor once a month to titillate your tongue. Oh, how sordid this has become as the means approach an end. And how long can we pretend that we're still good friends?
The next one is one that we're currently playing. It was on the album Over, and this is called Autumn.
So here we are, alone. Our children have grown up and all moved away, living their own lives, they say. It all seems very strange to me. I don't understand their ways. Our children amaze me all the time. I often wonder why they make me feel so sad and suddenly old. Now we're left with an empty home. From our nest all the birds have flown for foreign skies. We're discarded of no further use. Though we gave our kids all our use and all our lives, we really tried. Now there's only my wife and me. We used to have a family, now that's gone. And only memories linger on. It all seems very wrong to me. And always tried to change what was left. Yes, as soon as they could, they left us to our cheers. We always tried to teach what was good. Yes, we gave our kids all we could for all the years. Just for tears. So here we are at last. The time has gone so fast, and so have my dreams. I simply don't know what it all means. This pointless passage through the night, this autumn time, this walk upon the water. Will be till this song is sung by our own sons and daughters.
Thank you.